Hey, you guys. Oh, hello. Hello, friends. How are you, K-Brays? Butterfly kisses. What's going on? Allie, thank you. That was really nice of you. I appreciate that. Hi, Crazy Mama. Hey, Petunia. Proud Grandma of 3. How are you? Hello. Lavina. So nice to see you. Mr. Worth, we have missed you. Where have you been? Thank you for being here tonight. I'm slowly waiting for LFT. Give me one quick second. She is coming. We were in the middle of working and I realized we're supposed to be live. And also everybody and their mother's live. So sorry about that. I feel like we're all going on top of each other now. We tried to find times that nobody would be live, but whose house is this? Whose house is this? So we are going to be talking about Stephen Smith, but I had a kind of, I won't say large, but small epiphany last night. I wound up, gosh, I didn't even talk to LFT yesterday. It was like one of those busy Sundays. Hello. And yes, let's put this up. We got to make sure to put this up for our friend Nadie. I am waiting for my box of fun. Yesterday, I was doing like housework and catching up and oh my goodness, Petunia, we really appreciate you being here. Thank you for saying intelligent. I'm not really sure if I can say intelligent, but we appreciate conversation here. We appreciate your input here. That's something that's very important to us. But anyway, oh, there she is. Hi. Hello.
Oh, wait a minute. I think
You're right far away.
I think I did the double sign-in thing again. Hold on.
Oh, good. Sorry. Butterfly kisses. I'm glad that you're not as anxious as you were the other day. I really appreciate that. I hope that sometimes these nightly ones, you can kind of like kick back, relax, and maybe even have a giggle with us every now and again. Because, you know, we got to lighten it up around here with a giggle. Sometimes we make asses out of ourselves. But what I was going to say is yesterday, I didn't even talk to LFT. I was just so busy running around the house. And then I got really tired really fast. So I was like, I said I was going to watch Low Country again. That's exactly what I was doing, Lavina. That is exactly what I was doing. So I decided to pop on Low Country and get into bed. And I just, wherever it started. I wasn't even going to look for anything. I was just going to start it and go from there. And it just happened to start on episode 2, which is where Stephen Smith stuff starts. So I'm watching it and my eyes are closed and I'm listening. And the next thing you know, I hear something and my eyes pop open and I text LFT and I'm like, I don't care. I didn't even know what time it was. It turns out it was like so early, but I thought it was so late. I was like, we need to talk about Stephen Smith. Everything is wrong. Everything is all wrong. Like, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. And I think she's been right the whole time, as usual. But I'm starting to see things a little bit differently. And one of the things that I'm seeing differently is we've been using, to do our timeline, we've been using the MAT report, the mate report, really. It's called the mate report. Fitz News, videos that we find, like we're trying to fill in. Hi, Wolfie. Oh my gracious. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for being here.
Wolfie.
I knew you were going to do that. You're really far away. You need to figure your sound out. I can barely hear you.
All right, hold please.
Okay. Oh, Wolfie, everyone's so happy to see you. Thank you for coming in. So we've been using those different things to put our timeline together. And I know you've been busy, and we're just grateful that you got a chance to pop in, Wolfie. Honestly, we're really grateful. And I realized Low Country has some nuggets in it too. And that's where I was like, we need to go back and rethink things. And as we're doing it, like, we're finding all these contradictions to the mate report, to whatever, right?
Right.
Are you with me? Our Decipher baby is a week old today. Happy birthday, Decipher baby. Oh my God, that's so awesome. Oh, how's mom doing? Is mom okay? Is baby okay? Oh, you're holding him right now. Oh, Parker, it is so nice to see you, friend. I need to go back and watch your live from last night because I heard that was pretty damn good. Actually, let's drop Parker. We need to make sure we get her link out. Everybody make sure you're subscribed to Parker. Please, please, please. Oh, I'm so excited about the Decipher baby. I got thrown off there. Let's see. LFT, what were your thoughts about the Low Country stuff? And oh no, I didn't have a chance to watch it yet, but I will. Oh my goodness. Butterfly Kisses is going live, and oh good. I hope so, Wolfie. Butterfly Kisses did a live, so everybody needs to go over. And I don't have your link yet, Butterfly Kisses, but I will put it in. We'll see if we can get that link and people can go watch your live, because I haven't had a chance yet. But that's very sweet that you did that. She's better. Thank you all for the other night. C-section was rough and emotional. Oh, I bet. Well, I'm glad she's doing that. Hey, is Glenjamin in here? Oh, yeah, he is. Sorry, I missed you, pal.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to see you. Or as LFT calls you, Glenjamin.
K-Braze. Glenjamin.
Glenjamin. You got to get closer. You're so far away.
Oh, my God. Oh, my gosh.
Hey.
I don't know what to do.
Did you turn your audio input up by chance?
Yeah, it's all the way up. I did it just like I now know to do. Not only do I attach the device, but then I go to the settings and make sure the volume is turned up.
I'll just turn you up for myself, but hopefully, I hope people can hear you and it's just me. Maybe that's what it is. Thank you all for being here. That's so nice of you. There's a lot of places you could be, so thank you for stopping in. I really appreciate that. So the big news is there's not one thing, there's several things that we're finding contradictions on. And we still have to go through a couple more documentaries. But in doing so, oh, you can K-Braze? Okay, thank you, sir. That's what I needed. It was just somebody to confirm. So in doing this, we're compiling an entire timeline of everyone's account of Stephen Smith. Which, if you've seen our timeline, was enormous to begin with, using just the reports. Now that we're adding other things with videos and documentaries and things like that, it's going to be pretty extensive.
I mean, it's pretty extensive as is.
Yeah,
already.
But I'm being for real. Did you find anything like we talked about today? And I mean, I know you haven't sat down and watched it again, but from the stuff that we talked about, did you find anything interesting, or what are your thoughts? Because I have a lot of thoughts and I'm trying to focus them. So help me.
No, I think your thoughts are are on point. I mean, it's things that it's not like you came upon anything necessarily like new, but things clicked and you're like, wait a minute, is the way of thinking, something clicked in you that made things.
I'm definitely thinking
clear to you. Like it was something the way you're mapping it out. You're just like, hold on, like I know we know this, but then the more it was like you just heard one or two things, and then she was off on like something clicked. I don't even know what it was. I guess heard
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 10 pages of notes that I've taken just in the last couple of hours. Because I just started going down all these rabbit holes. And I have so many questions. And I really honestly do. Like, so, okay. The first thing that caught my ear when I was laying there is in my head, I was ticking off like who was speaking. It was like Stephanie Smith and Sandy Smith and Ashley and Passion and Lieutenant Moore, Lieutenant or Corporal Duncan, like, all, I'm listening to all these people, right? And I hear Sandy Smith say, this was the thing that got me. They're talking about the accident and, we've identified Stephen in the road, blah, 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 whatever. Stephen's body was left in the road at 9:30. She is, so this timeline right here is strange to me.
This, I think it kind of goes back with before we really got into Big Heart.
Yeah.
I think it was the other, like our last lab or the lab before that. I think you kind of, whatever happened to you last night, whatever you were watching, kind of piggybacked something that I had said, because I'm not doubting her or anything like that, but I had made the point of, I would really like to know what changed for Sandy to get like her line of thinking, where she was, initially up until the 7th, or, by the end of July, even August, it was still the boyfriend thing, that line of thinking. Like she was kind of, for lack of a better word, hell-bent on that. But then something clicked, like, I don't know. And that's what I said. I don't know what it is.
Prior to that, and the way that Low Country is laid out, let me just tell you that the way the producers have it edited is right away. They want, because it's because they have the Murdoch, it's under the Murdoch umbrella. They are automatically throwing in the Murdochs as suspects. I now am going to publicly tell you that I'm not sure I believe that anymore. I've never been behind the fact that I thought Buster could do this. Call me crazy and call me wrong, but I just don't see it. And now that I'm rewatching and listening to Sandy say these things, I really have questions on a lot of it. And initially, like, so she started with Big Heart, the boyfriend, but in actuality, did she?
Yeah.
Was that her first one? Because when you listen, you never hear her talk about that.
Even Stephanie says that.
But you never hear her talk about it in Low
how
Country.
Her mom. But that's because like you just said, Low Country is geared to the fall of a dynasty, essentially. That's what. I don't care what network it's on. The whole thing has been about the Murdochs, and then cases kind of that they potentially have ties to or their names are brought up in. But the whole purpose of it is to map out this family, to show a fall of a Southern family that, you know, had clout, power, money, all the above, and then watch it crumble. That's what those have been about.
And I think they're trying to tell us a story that they want us to believe, but may not necessarily be exactly what happened. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. The first thing that caught my ear was that Stephen's body left the road at 9:30. And I'm assuming that they got this from the coroner's report, right? Sandy Smith says...
Okay, see, that's interesting to me. Go ahead. Sorry, keep going.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say? Oh, wait. No, don't confuse that yet. Don't bring that up yet. Because that's very confusing. Hold on. Let me get through this one thought really quick before you bring up the 4 o'clock for whatever. I know what you're going to talk about. No,
that's not. I was about the body, about what time the body left the road.
Oh, what is it? What do you have?
Well, according to like Talon and Brittany Burke and all of them in their notes, around 8:25, it's quoted. It says Talon notes an EMS worker stated that a projectile wound was located on the victim's head. And then I did ... that the Hampton County Coroner's Office moved the victim prior to SLED crime scene arrival. And that was at 8:25.
Well, okay, but I can go, hey, Michelle, welcome in. I can go with 9:30. That's...
Yeah, I think you're right. Between like 8:30 and 9:30.
Yeah, like I don't have an issue. That doesn't specifically say like a contradiction to me. Well, the Proud Grandma, the only murders that they have a history behind them of are Maggie and Paul. Because Gloria's an accident. And we don't know that Stephen Smith is
Mallory
connected.
Beach.
I'm so glad you love your music melts, Michelle. That's amazing. Yay. You have to do us a huge favor, Michelle. When you have time, go on to Music Melts and write a review if you don't mind. If you haven't done so already, it really helps her. It helps Nay. So that would be good. I'm so glad that you're enjoying them. Yay. When I found this channel last week, I was still the Murdochs did at camp, but I've listened with an open mind, and it's clear you both do the research, and I've changed my position now. Really? You're actually doing the work? Yes. We're certainly trying. Oh, yay, Michelle. That's awesome. That's great news. We are trying to do the work. We really are trying to do the work, and we're trying to show our work. And that's really important to us too, is like, where did we get this? So Stephen's body left the road at, we'll say, hypothetically speaking, 9:30. Then Sandy says she's on the way to the funeral home. And she drives by the crime scene. We're calling it a crime scene. And she is the one that saw Alec Murdoch and Randy Murdoch between 10:30 and 11 a.m. at the scene. Now, here's what's interesting about that. I had put off Alec Murdaugh and Randy being at the scene because I was like, I don't even know who said this. Like, I can't even remember who said it. There's so many damn rumors about this. I had forgotten that it was Sandy who said it. So, of course, that was the second my eyes flew open.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, she's the one who started this rumor. And because she saw it with her own eyes. Now, here's the thing. And I'm going to go backwards a little bit here. But I wanted to talk about the Randy Murdaugh thing because less and less, I think Randy's being blamed for things. He's going on my Buster Murdaugh list. I think Randy. Oh, you didn't derail anything, Michelle. It's easy for me to get derailed. We're just glad you're here. What did I say? So I had been kind of, if you will, poo-pooing the whole Randy, Alec Murdaugh being at the scene because I was like, I don't even remember who said it. It's no big deal. But so even if they were, right, Randy Murdaugh calls. Let me see. Where's my notes? I got so many daggum notes here.
We should be around the 10:30 a.m. mark, right?
Yes. Calls. So, no, we're going to go back a little bit. We're going to go back in time. Time is fake. We're going back because we can do it. So, around 8 o'clock, Joel is Stephen's dad. He's called into the sheriff's office. Not really sure if he knows why he's there yet. But while he's waiting, Randy Murdaugh calls him and says, I would like to help you investigate. Okay. Doesn't say, I'm going to take your case on for free. Doesn't say, I'm going to work on this case pro bono. Doesn't say any of those things. But this is how the game of telephone goes. Says to Joel, I'd like to help you investigate. I'd like to help you work your way through the law enforcement side of it. And Joel, and the weird thing is, hey, Holy, welcome. The weird thing is, everybody's like, well, how did he know to call him? What do you mean? How did he know before everybody else? First of all, Joel and Randy Murdaugh were already working together on Joel's workman's comp case. So for how long? I don't know. LFT is supposed to tell me that. She is yet to tell me. That is apparently privileged information for LFT only. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Listen up. That's between me and Hampton County. I'll deal with it.
That's me and Hampton County. It's a little secret I'm keeping. No, but I really don't know that. And I asked you and you were like, hang on. And I'm still holding for that one. Because actually, I would like to know how long.
Because, I'm having a hard time finding the actual court document that dates it. Like, I keep going, everything I'm coming up now with relates back to like more in his thing. So I know that date, but his stuff's more specific. So I'm looking. But I want to know. I want the actual documents. I want the records.
All right. So what? Yes, please rest. Please rest, Allie. And I promise you I will go back tonight and watch your live. And I apologize for not doing it earlier today. I really do. But yeah, put your feet up, try to get some rest, and we will catch your live later. And I'll tell you what I'll do is when I have, because I know that you emailed it to me, I will share it out for you as well. We'll make sure to do that. And congratulations on
I just doing
that. Okay. So, what I was going to say is Randy and Joel had been working together on the workman's comp case. It's not like they were complete strangers. It's not like they didn't talk all the time. Like, this was already his client and attorney. So to me, it's not so far-fetched that someone in Hampton County would have called Randy and said, Joel Smith is sitting in here, found his kid on the side, in the middle of the road. And Randy's like, oh shit, I'm his attorney. No, let me get her link actually. Oh, I can't hear. I got to do it over here. Hold, please.
I can do it while you keep going.
I just got it going. I got it. Here is Butterfly Kisses, her link. Let me write this out. There you go. I don't have the specific link, but if you go to her channel and look for her live. Oh, thank you. Okay. Oh, no, you're not interrupting anything. This is very interactive here. This is very interactive. So please ask questions. I'm trying to pay attention. I easily get sidetracked, so you are just fine. There's no interruption here. It's conversation. I like conversation. So I was saying, like, it wasn't unheard of for me to think that Randy might call Joel because he knows what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that weird?
Well,
am I stretching on that one?
No, but we also look. I don't think it's so much stretching on that, but at that time too, they didn't have a verdict as to what had happened, and there's a chance that it could be like a personal injury case, or is there something, you know, that Randy and his firm have, you know, an expertise in, and a niche, like that's their niche is the personal injury cases, and therefore, not only could it be a potential business income opportunity for Randy, but if it was deemed that, but I think obviously I'm not surprised he found out that it was that Stephen Smith, that it was him, possibly even before Joel knew, because it is what it is in that county. That's just how they operated, and it doesn't surprise me. So it doesn't surprise me that he'd be like offering his services if they need it for something.
But also, we don't know that Joel didn't know. He may have already knew, and Randy was just calling him. Like, we don't actually know that he doesn't know that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I just said, like, he made my impression is when even Sandy talks about the call from Randy Murdoch, I never took it. I have to be honest. I never took it as him being like, hey, I'll take this case pro bono, yada, yada, yada. Don't even worry about it. I took it as him offering, is there anything I can help with? Like, I could point you in the direction if you need someone, you know, if you need representation, or if you need to speak, if you're having issues with law enforcement. I took it more as like a liaison kind of role.
That's exactly what I took it as well. That's exactly what I took it on. Exactly. So
Hey, Amanda.
So Joel was called at the sheriff's office to ID Stephen. Before the sheriff came out, Randy called Joel. Randy offered to investigate. All he wanted was the electronics, the passwords for Facebook, etc. Hey, Meatfoot, what's up? Thanks for being here. Now this portion of it is a little shady to me, but also every time I watch Sandy, God love her, and this is nothing against her. I'm not speaking ill of her in any way, shape, or form, because y'all know how I feel about her. She is the epitome of grace and how she's handled herself. So there is no, like, and we never tear down any victims, and she certainly is a victim. What I'm calling into question is her memory of how things went during a traumatic time. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to her in any way, shape, or form. I just have some questions on timing. And perhaps the meaning behind the editing, because maybe she didn't say it that way. Maybe it's edited that way for HBO. So let me also say that, like, we are not bashing Sandy here. We love her. We respect her. We honor her. And every single person, I never want anyone to think we would speak ill. But I do have as an outside party just a couple of questions. And maybe perhaps she misunderstood some things. What do you think?
Well, I think yes, I think there was some misunderstanding and some misconstruing going around.
You do? Like where? Thanks, Michelle. Get into it. Tell them what you think.
Well, because the whole damn thing is asinine. Listening to no wonder. I mean, I think there was. I have to. The first time in my life, I legitimately think law enforcement had the WTF faces going on. Like, okay, wait, are we doing it? Are they do? Like, hold on. Like, I mean, when you literally map out the timeline, y'all, and it's like the Hampton County Sheriff's Office shows up, they're like, this ain't us, and then and then they think it's a gunshot wound, so it's going to SLED. An hour and a half later, Highway Patrol's getting calls going, come back, you got to get down here. There's no gunshot wound. They're passing it back, like Hampton County's handing it back over SLED, and the team's handing it back over to the Highway Patrol, and everyone's going, what? Okay. So I think in the midst of that chaos breeds confusion, and I think in situations like that, not only does it breed confusion, but that will breed people, all of a sudden going, of course, just speaking their minds of like, there's a reason why SLED isn't taking this. Do you know what I mean? When the agency at large can't pin it down and it makes sense of something and adequately determine the next steps of an investigation, and of course that trickles all the way down. And so I meant just like in the sense of chaos and people just talking in general, but not specifics yet, because no one had specifics.
So
I think in terms of Sandy, and what I meant in terms of like maybe her misunderstanding or whatnot is also because she didn't get the phone call.
Right.
However, she is the one who hands over Stephen's laptop and stuff to two people who she doesn't even know if she assumed they were related to the case.
Which turns out they weren't.
Yeah.
They weren't.
And so, I think, I don't know if some of her interactions alone with individuals that are involved investigation-wise with this case have caused her to kind of like, it's something, something personal, something that a conversation she had with someone within law enforcement, if it was something there that made her think, okay, this is something bigger than I thought it was. It's a Murdaugh. I don't know. I asked that the other night. I want to know what it is that made her train of thought and that mother's instinct go from one thing, one moment to another thing, a year later, and being very hell-bent, rightfully so, as a mom that doesn't have answers right now, but I don't know what that was. And we need to know.
Right, exactly. Let me go back, because as I'm watching, I'm trying to take notes. Like, I'm trying to take specific notes so we can add them to the timeline. But like, we're going through and it's Stephanie Smith talking, it's Sandy Smith talking, Ashley Carroll is the cousin. They're all describing Stephen. Then Passion Mixon, who's the friend, the skating friend. Then it's Lieutenant Moore from the South Carolina Highway Patrol. And he starts in saying he got a call even before the shift started that there was a body in the road, right? So he's going to go from his house straight to where the accident happened. And then it goes to Sandy, and she's talking about how Stephen's body left the road at 9:30. She was on the way to the funeral home to make arrangements for Stephen at 10:30, 11 a.m., and she sees Randy and Alec at the crime scene. Now, the way that they want you to believe this is then they have the Daily Beast journalists come in, and she's asking, why would they help this family? This family's a poor family from, they're nobodies, blah, blah, blah. The Murdochs helped everybody. The Murdochs helped. They wanted your money. So they're going to help everybody. Meaning, according to Moore, they had an investigator show up a few days later after the accident, while CHP or SCHP was still working. That's not weird. Now, what was initially when I heard this, I was like, why would they have an investigator show up? This is so weird. But actually, it's not. LOT and I were talking this out a little bit ago. And what did you say about having the investigator, like an investigator for the law firm showing up isn't really that weird, right? Unless you're talking to yourself like I am. And then it is weird.
No, I did know eventually, like if they were going to take on or be an active, like have a role in the proceedings that follow this incident, in terms of if there's a case to be had, yes, then it wouldn't be weird for me to be out there. But I'm not surprised that they were, because of the county and the Murdochs. But I don't think they would have been there yet if they didn't have, like, why would they go? Send
They're
their
saying
NPI
it's a few days after. So say it's 2 or 3 days after, because we don't really know when it is. They're just saying a couple of days, a few days after, right? Let me see what I wrote down. According to Moore, an investigator showed up a few days after the accident, where they were still working, combing through things, is what he said. Which is not unusual, because at that point they still thought it was a hit and run, or treating it as though it was a hit and run, right? So it wouldn't be, if that's the case and Randy Murdoch still thinks he's working the case, why would it be weird for investigators to show up to investigate the scene or take pictures of the scene? Why would that be weird? That wouldn't be weird. That would be what I expect of my attorney.
But they didn't see. There's just no proof of them being hired as their attorneys for anything Stephen related at any point in time.
No, so there isn't, but there's no proof of them not. Joel said, sure. He agreed. According to Sandy. He agreed to the help. So there was an agreement. No?
Hey,
according to Sandy. And that's who we're getting our information. Hi, Grandma Sherry. Hi. According to Sandy is who we're getting our information from. No?
Well, no, you're right. But I'm going to ask the chat the same thing I asked you earlier.
Tell me.
This never clicked with me. Why is it in zero of the documents, not to documents, but in press coverage about this, there is not one statement from Joe Smith. There's no conducted interview. There's no anything. There's nothing about him other than that he's the father in this, and that he's mentioned in like passing in like the typing up of the police report or something. Like there's no phone call,
nothing
that's recorded, noted, nothing to Joe Smith.
Nothing. And he died, 3 months to the day of Stephen?
I mean, 3 months later, don't get me wrong, but he was, I don't understand how that isn't documented. There's no way they did not talk to that man. Stephen technically resided in terms of where he lived. Remember, he spent most of the time at his dad's. They all did. And then it was like kind of back and forth over to mom's. No judgment, just was what it was. And he's not mentioned.
Like mom lived farther out too. That's to be noted. That's like kind of noteworthy in my opinion. She lived about 40 minutes northwest of where dad did. Northwest or Northeast. I can't remember. But to me, whoops, I'm trying to do too many things at once.
Especially since even Stephanie says, like, when they're trying to get an account of Stephen's day, of what Stephen had going on the day of, or, you know, the day before, the 8th, the 7th, she even says, you know, she went to help him at the gas station at 5:30 because he had gone to get cigarettes for my dad. So
right.
You would think, like, hey, talk to dad. Dad, what time did like, can I get a time of that you asked Stephen to go, you know, grab you cigarettes, or did you, you know, or was he, there's nothing like that. And that, the more I think about it, it's conveniently omitted in my
everywhere.
opinion.
But it's not just one
at
place.
this moment in time, that's not.
It's conveniently
everywhere.
omitted everywhere. And that's such a good point. Like, where is the dad's statement? Okay, so Sandy sees, okay, so 8 o'clock, they get the phone call from Randy. Actually, Joe gets the phone call. Joe or Joel, however you want to say his name, gets a phone call at the sheriff's office. Sandy isn't necessarily at the sheriff's office at that point because, to be fair, how could she be? She just got the call at 7:30 in the morning from Stephanie saying, have you seen Stephen? So how could she be at the sheriff's office? She cannot. Not mathematically that I know of, unless the timing is off. So Joe goes by himself, is my understanding. Or, well, I don't know that he goes by himself. That's an assumption. But I don't believe Sandy's with him when he goes to the sheriff's office. Then Sandy goes while he's at the
right now.
While he goes to the sheriff's office, Sandy's going to the funeral home to make arrangements, right? She sees what she sees, da-da-da-da-da. And then Moore says that they had the investigator come out a few days later, which to me, again, I'm just reiterating, not weird. Moore thinks that they were keeping an eye on law enforcement and not taking a look at the scene. But think about that for a second. The story is not as salacious if they're actually doing their job and looking at the scene. It kind of goes wah wah. Now, if you want to make the story Low Country more salacious and more interesting, then you want to throw the Murdochs in as much as you can. At that point, he says, you know, they were keeping an eye on Ellie, not on the scene. Well, you don't know that. That's an assumption on your part, and you wouldn't let them in, and you wouldn't let them take pictures. So I don't know how you got that information. What made you where did you come to that conclusion? Because you didn't even let him in. Like, you didn't talk to him. You were like, no, you can't be here. Get out.
You know what it is? This just clicked with me. This is so early on. The Murdoch's name hadn't even come up yet. That's why it's strange. And according to
the Murdoch name hadn't come up in the 3 days prior. No, you're right.
No, they hadn't. No, the Murdoch name had not come up. No rumors like that. That hadn't been mentioned yet. Right. That's not till a while later. That's what I'm saying. The timing of it is weird because the timing of the confession of, or the story about, that's why the Sean Conley and Patrick Wilson thing comes into play, because it was shortly thereafter, within a couple months of the Buster rumor happening, that this like apparent confession happened. But early on, the Murdoch name had not come up once. So there was no, like, and also what gets me is, I love that she says, this is where I get a little just like, I wish I could understand her a little bit better, her line of thinking, because on the 17th, once again, in a phone call with Corporal Duncan, nope, it's the 17th. We do know that the burnout name came up at least on this. Ellie is notified of the burnout name being brought up because Duncan asked Sandy about any rumors that she has heard on July 17th. This is like a week after Stephen has passed away. And she kind of thinks for a moment. And she goes, the Murdoch boys. She doesn't
Whoever
expand
they are. Yeah, you
on it.
yeah.
And then she goes, whoever they are. And that's the end of it. She doesn't, and then she goes back to Mark following her around, his other friends at the gas stations. It did not go into the whole, Randy's name doesn't even, like, none of that stuff comes up. It's law enforcement, I think, is aware of Alec and Randy because they obviously know him.
Of course.
But no. But I just was looking too, Tia. I'm sitting here looking at Sergeant Moore's typed report.
Yeah.
But his is probably one of the most detailed ones. And on the it's in our timeline too. But on page 100, this is when he is speaking with he's spoken to. This is still July 8th, and he has talked to Coroner Washington. I asked him what time and who notified. I asked him where the body was, and he stated that it had been taken to the Road and Peebles Funeral Home in Hampton, per the family's wishes at the time of death notification. I asked him what time and who notified, and he stated that they notified the mother and father, Joel and Sandra Smith, at home, and then, but I think 2 phone numbers are blocked out, at approximately 10:30 a.m.
But then how can she be on her way to the funeral home?
That's what I'm asking.
I'm asking you. You can ask me. Did Sandy ever have anybody represent her like Randy was going to? Eric Bland currently is a lawyer. Mike Hemlep is the guy in Low Country. That was her lawyer then. And Andy Savage is the one that Stephen Peterson worked with. So she's had 3 lawyers in the last 8 years. What was the cause of death exact minute that Randy was wanting to represent them?
I got that one.
You got that one?
Well, initially, at that, whose timeline are we going off of? If it's Sandy's the day of, I don't know why, because it was ruled a gunshot wound. Maybe that would be it. So maybe someone from SLED, but then the autopsy, 2 hours into it, they're going, there's no wound. This is not a gunshot wound. So it goes back to the highway patrol in terms of responsibility. Like literally, it's at, what was it, I wrote it down to you, the 4:14. That's when, Brock and all them are getting notified that
4:40?
at 4:14, Brock is notified by Booker that there's no gunshot wound according to the autopsy. 4:15, Sergeant Moore contacts Sheriff Smalls to clarify, the information that's coming in. And he said the doctor's ruling it as a motor vehicle accident, and the Hampton County Sheriff's Office is turning it over to them being the South Carolina Highway Patrol. By 5 p.m., July 8th, it's Highway Patrol.
Oh, but let me backtrack for one quick second, because one of the things that Thomas Moore said that I wrote in my notes was he claims he wasn't about taking pictures. It was about seeing what Ellie was doing and to get one step ahead. Now, to me, this is him leading into the Murdochs, because we haven't even brought the Murdochs in yet. But this is Sergeant Moore leading into the Murdochs with the investigators. So I wanted to say that really quick. Sorry. And then the next thing is we talk about the pathologist report, which is... go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. I just wanted to throw that part in to include in the more.
So I was actually just typing it in the chat. I was saying, K-Brace, my guess would be at that moment, technically, they just had ruled it that it was a motor vehicle, accident.
Yeah.
Not
pedestrian versus vehicle.
And that's where I just with you though. I get confused because here you are, you've got Coroner Washington and talking to Sergeant Moore and all these people, and he's also the reason he's talking to Washington is because he's trying to figure out exactly where Stephen was at that time. Is he still with the coroner's office, and coroner's like, no. He's now over at the funeral home per the family's request to go to this funeral home. This is where he is. And once Moore finds that out and verifies that, like immediately, through his, the higher ups and whatnot, he immediately calls the funeral home and tells them to halt any preparations that they're doing to Stephen and to cover him up. He confirms that the clothes are there, and the funeral home says that they're there in a paper bag. And then Moore, I believe it's Moore, who gets Officer Rowell to go. He's instructed to go pick up the bag of clothing from the funeral home.
The notes I have. The notes I have here: First Sergeant Moore, car versus pedestrian. Sheriff and the coroner were the only ones to think this was a quote unquote. The only reason this was a wreck was because the body was placed in the road. That was a quote. According to Moore, there was no vehicle parts, fragment glass on the road. Confident this was not a wreck. A wreck meaning a car. This was murder. And that's what he quotes it saying. There was no other evidence. They refused to take the case back and investigate it as foul play. Here's my notes about Joel. Joel was called to the sheriff's office to ID. Before sheriff came out, Randy called. Randy offered to investigate. All they wanted was the electronics and the passwords for Facebook. That's what Sandy is saying.
And she just blindly hands it over, though. That's what gets me.
Well, she's skeptical of, this is what I don't understand, and that's a great point. She blindly hands it over, but she's skeptical about the fact that Randy wants the passwords to Facebook and the electronics. If he's going to be their lawyer and be the go-between, he's trying, my understanding, and I could be totally wrong. I probably am completely wrong. But if he's going to be the go-between, he's going to take the stuff over to the police, right? Like, isn't that what he's trying to do? He's trying to, like, doesn't that make sense?
You would think so, but
am I the only one that's like, I feel like I'm in a room by myself?
No, it does make sense, but is all that included in the investigation report of like, hey, we know that these two PIs or whatnot from whatever firm, or these two, and actually name them, they don't even include that information of Stephen's, those two items that they picked up from Sandy Smith's house. I'm not even sure when Ellie was aware of that.
Hi to me. I didn't want to go any further without saying hello to you and welcome in. We saw you sneak in. There's no sneaking in around here, lady. That was something I wish didn't happen, but understood why she trusted them. Yeah, well, I have questions because, like I said, I think it's interesting, but not that extraordinary that he would want the electronics and that he would take them to the police station and that he would want the passwords to give to the police, right? No? But that's for the police to investigate, not the lawyer doesn't investigate the electronics. I agree, but doesn't it make it for a more salacious story this way?
It does, but here I have a question for all y'all then. Wait a minute. So what's the date that they picked that up from Sandy? Or the approximate time frame? Give me the time frame.
What are we talking about? Between the electronics being picked up?
The electron, like when they went, yeah.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you.
Those two men,
that goes back to my Steven Peterson interview, so I'm not sure.
Okay, so when those two guys go to pick up those, don't get me wrong, I know in terms of law enforcement, not private eyes working for a law firm. I'm talking about law enforcement. They, in my opinion, should be the first ones asking for that information because there's a reason why they would want it. Because, they're doing the interviews and questioning and trying to find out about his whereabouts. What had he been up to? Why the hell would two PIs that aren't aware of the entire situation yet want solely those things and be like, we need the passwords for social media? I mean, I know in our head, yeah, of course, I would want it too because I would want to know. We're smart enough to know it, but we're not law enforcement. Why, it would go to them first, and we would advise law enforcement, you got to look at social media. We've heard rumors of this, this, and this. But instead, they want the passwords, and they're very specific on what they wanted. And that stuck out to me. Before anything was like, before the whole, like, you know, the true investigation is going. Like, I get why, but, you know, talking to Sandy by the 17th, when Duncan and other people are on the phone with her and she's saying, you know, they're talking about the big heart stuff and whatnot. Of course, then, but within like, by 7 days later, of course, I hope you are asking for access to his, you know, electronics and anything like that, so they could make sure there wasn't, you know, something else going on.
But that would be a day
law
one
enforcement
thing. Hi, Kylie. Welcome in. I mean, I could totally see them. I don't know. I get what you're saying. Don't necessarily agree with you, but I get what you're saying. Like, I can go, like, what was the other thing that I said I could go 50-50 on?
Well, no, I think that's what's so funny about, like, the people don't understand. I think about the two of us is, like, as we sit here and do this, we note everything, but we do not always, like, we're not following the exact same path the entire way around the track. Like, I'm in lane 4, she's in lane 2, but we're still circling the same thing.
Yeah, we're just and we still, I mean, I'm sure we're going to disagree until the very end unless we find specific information. I mean, it helps for us to disagree and talk it out. Like, I literally need to work in words and figure out how, like, when I said this last night to her, I was like, I couldn't talk to her until later today. And I was dying all day. I was like, God, could you just freaking call me so I can get this off my chest? I need to run this by you because it could be the dumbest thing I've ever thought of in my life. Only I don't think it is. I think that here's what I think is happening. I think there's editing with the story. I think Sandy may be confused on a couple of details, not on the thing, not just on the details. That's all I'm saying. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm very cautious when I speak of her. And I think it could be misconstrued, some of the things that they're saying, to make it more salacious. I also believe with all my heart and soul that, hey, Mock, welcome in, that Sandy believes that the Murdochs are involved. I just don't necessarily agree with her. I don't. In looking at how people behave, like a lawyer would behave, I don't get Randy's behavior as being so like, oh, it's a family cover-up. I'm covering up for my nephew Buster who did this. Because
see, that's, I don't think he's covering up anything for Buster. I
don't either.
I think it's something that, like, I'm not counting out that they're not trying to, like, beat something before it goes too far, try to cut it off at the pass. I'm not saying I'm not dead set on that or something else, but I will say I don't think he's trying to cover for Buster. But I wouldn't be surprised, like, when you think about the whole escort thing, other things going on at the time within the community. We know that it's kind of like the whole Epstein thing, like the trickle down effect. Like, there's a black book somewhere, essentially, and I could see it in that sense. I'm not accusing anyone and saying that's not definite. I can get around that, but I can understand and get around that line of thinking, as in there's something else going on.
See, now K-Braze,
you know what I mean?
Like,
maybe.
I understand what K-Braze is saying here. He says, how I see it, if I were Sandy, I would have to view everyone as a suspect because you can't rule anyone out. 100% agree with this, but I think she's hyper-focused on the wrong people. Oh, did I say that out loud? Shit. Eric Bland, call me. We need to talk. I need more details and I can help you. Please, please, please. know this is just so ridiculous, but like so many things are when we put this together, I almost canceled tonight's live because I'm such a clutter of emotion and confusion with this story after rewatching. Okay, so this, let me just say that this did not happen to me with Watts. With Watts, we had done all the investigative work and then Netflix came out
Mm-hmm.
and we watched it and I was like, oh yeah, that's bullshit. Oh, that's bullshit. Or that's true. Oh yeah, we got that. You know, like we were checking off like, oh yeah, we did pretty well there, you know, da, 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 da. But I wasn't like, oh my God. I didn't have a specific feeling on it like, oh my God, wait, hold on. I was in agreement with a lot of it. Now I know there's other creators out there who don't, and they claim that they figured everything out and that, you know, people were sleeping in the basement and whatnot, but okay. This one was like a full stop to me. So I do, you know what, Petunia? I do believe this beautiful boy was murdered as well. And that is the crime. And that we need to keep in mind and in our hearts. And we need to figure out who did it. I have some pretty strong feelings of who I think did it. But again, I'm not Sandy, so it doesn't matter what I freaking think. It matters what she thinks. Oh, yay, Muck. Get that shit done.
Do you want me to drop
just left in the middle of nowhere? Okay, and that was the other thing, K-Braze.
Do you want me to drop the bomb
about what? Because I do, whatever it is. Yes.
The Thomas More. You all know that.
Oh yeah. Before we get to that, wait 1 second. We need to talk about his. Remember, I just spent like a half an hour staring at the position of this boy in the road and watching Low Country, and he had a lot more wounds than they led us to believe, by the way. His arms are pretty scraped up. They're saying like there was no other injuries other than his head. That's bunk. His arms were all screwed up. So keep that in mind. Like they're trying to it's very bizarre. But please tell us the bombshell, because I thought this was so interesting.
So, you know, and actually it's the second that you see Moore, he's on the HBO, Moore's on HBO, right? He was interviewed in that one, Tia?
Moore is on HBO, correct.
Yeah, it's like you'll recognize him once y'all see Moore's face. If you've seen any of the documentaries, that's
2015.
Sergeant Moore from Highway Patrol, who's all up in this. You all know that he was represented by Alec, and he got screwed over by Alec Murdaugh as well. And
wait, when slow down and start that from the beginning. DC. Say that again.
So Sergeant Thomas Moore with the South Carolina Highway Patrol. In 2018 when we had the big snowmageddon, like I was in DC, so I know we were under, thousands of feet of snow up there at the time. That during the snowmageddon, he was working. There was a car accident. He was on duty. Like the car slid underneath him. There was an accident and he was injured. And he was went to the doctor, kind of misdiagnosed. He essentially had walked around for about 3 to 4.5 weeks with a broken neck. And by the time, because it was still in so much pain, by the time they got to an adequate doctor that, realized, took a good look and realized what had happened, it was going to cost him $250,000 to get. He needed the surgery like ASAP. It was in his neck. We can post so you just Google it. All you have to put it in is put in Thomas More, Alec Murdaugh. You're going to get the articles. There's not a ton of them, but anyway, so he what he did, he called Alec's firm because that's what they're known for, like personal injury, workers' comp, like all that. He knew that's where to go. Alec was his attorney. He did get some checks. He got a portion of it, but here's the deal. He got a call, like, I think I want to say it may have been in 2021 when they realized, when did they reopen it? 23rd. I got to double check the dates because y'all, I'm talking all this off the cuff. But he did get a call from the law firm basically saying your money's gone. One check, there is a check about, like, in terms of his case as a client and Alec and everything, a check was made out to Forge. He was even told by Alec that they have the money, but he needs to come in and endorse it to sign for it, and they have to keep it. You know how Alec would try to say, we can set it in this account so you can make more money or send you like the dividends. However he and Chris Wilson described, not saying that in a bad way about Chris Wilson, just how he was describing about, holding the money for some clients or deciding to give it all to them, or would they rather it be, paid out over time, that kind of deal. Well, it turns out he had taken, I believe it was slightly over $100,000 from Thomas More, and he found out because the attorneys had to call and let him know.
Stole money from this cop too. Ballsy move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ballsy move.
Initially he called it, he'll say it himself, he initially hired what he called was the Murdaugh firm. And he went to Mr. Murdaugh because I think he had a friend, another member of law enforcement who was retired. And of course, we all know the Murdaughs have a solid relationship with law enforcement and first responders and stuff. And I do believe this person, I don't think out of any ill will, suggested getting in touch with Murdaugh. So he did. And he got the assurance from Alec that he would get the money, all they would be okay, go ahead with the surgery. He goes and does it. As promised, I think he did receive $100,000. It came, okay, wait, this is a direct quote. I did write this down. It came in the mail. I was called ahead of time and told that a check would be coming to me and that I needed to take it to the law firm and endorse it. I never had access to that, and it had to stay in an account, and nobody could touch it until the case was resolved. And that's where things stood for, once again, it's like this Satterfield thing. And then stayed like that. And I think he said it was either 3 to 4.5 years. It remained like that. No, it would have to be 3 years. It couldn't be 4. Mm-hmm. It would be 3.5 years. So things stood that way for about 3.5 years with his workers' compensation case still unresolved, and medical bills were like piling up, and he's trying to cover everything he can out of pocket. And then he gets a call from the Murdaugh firm, and they said there's a problem, that the money's gone. But they promised to replace it. They promised to replace it. So he was one that, too, just so for, I mean, not that he did, I'm not saying he did anything wrong here. I just wanted to point out that no one is immune to either utilizing that law firm and or Murdaugh in terms of legitimately needing help. And you're also not immune to be taken advantage of in one way or another. It's
the thought of what actually happened to him has changed for any. Yes, it has changed. It keeps changing. Because what I saw today on his arms, it looks like freaking road rash. Everyone's been talking about how he now the most serious wound is his head. And obviously that's the fatal wound, and clearly the most serious, but there are other wounds on his body that we're not talking about. There are scrapes, and he does have road rash, and his hands are beat up, and there is tar on his body. Do I have a specific, I think Demi asked if there could have been a dragging, and I do. I think it's really possible that I still think he was hit, not necessarily with a vehicle, because there's no lower body damage to him. So I have some real questions on that, and I don't believe it was vehicle versus pedestrian. I think it was pedestrian versus weapon, but what do I know? But I do think at some point he got dragged because of it's like bad strawberry that kind of used to get. Yes, it really is.
That's what it looked like to me. Like, don't get me wrong, it's bad, but it's also like
I can't show it because it's under HBO and we get, we're going to get struck if we show it. But I can tell you that episode 2 of Low Country, please go watch it again if you haven't, or watch it for the first time. It is, and take it in like we are, because it's very interesting. If you're like me, I'm just, we're going to talk about the wallet. We're going to talk about that. I'm just interested in the Stephen Smith portion right now, because the rest for me, it's ancillary, and I can't. It's too much with Alec Murdaugh, and he's in jail, and God love Mallory Beach. That's a terrible situation, but it seems we know what happened there as well. Stephen is the one I'm focusing on right now because we don't know what happened. I still can't understand why his wallet was in the car and his phone was in his pocket for some reason. While he was on his phone talking, what I can't figure out is what initially, and I said this earlier to LFT, I can't figure out why he didn't call somebody for help, but it was the middle of the night. He was a sweet, considerate boy, so he probably didn't want to. Hypothetically speaking, we're just running all the angles here. People, don't come for my throat yet. But what if he just didn't want to wake anybody up? What if he was like, fuck it, I'll just walk home?
Well, we said there's that. And then they also, everyone kept talking about how, talk of like maybe being bullied, or there were some people, remember it was always at like Schneider's gas station or the Brunson Exxon or something. So if you're late at night, T and I talked about this too, like, yeah, and you ran out of gas and you're like, okay, I'm not going back up there alone. Hell to the no.
Right.
No one else.
I'd rather take my chances on a lonely, dark road than go back to that place again.
Yeah. I'm not going up there like solo late at night. I'll get my ass kicked potentially. So screw it. But I want you to keep going before I say the gas cap thing.
Glenjamin, you handsome devil, you. Hard left turn. Yes, that's exactly what I think happened with the wallet. Because if you look at the books and you look at the position of the wallet, I think it just dumped over into the side. I don't even think he knew he was walking without it. I think he genuinely forgot his wallet. And the whole point of Sandy saying something like, well, his car was parked here and his dad lived over here and the gas station was down here, south. Why was he walking in this direction? Because he was going home. He was walking home.
He wasn't out of gas.
Well, even if he was out of gas,
Who
cares? He was still going home. You know what I mean? Like I genuinely think he left his wallet by accident. That is, I stand by that. I think he got out of the car. Who knows what stopped the car? I don't know yet. But I know he had car trouble earlier that day. His sister had to come help him.
I'm about to throw another one out here. So Glenjamin and K-Braze and all y'all, get this. We hadn't thought about this either.
Glenjamin, good point.
We do know that car had issues. That's why you see tons of the little cans of oil and stuff in the car, because they hadn't found the leak yet. So every time you stopped to put gas in it, you had to put, even if you didn't stop to put gas in it, didn't Stephanie say, like, you always had to be adding the fluid, the oil. Right. That's why they're all in there. But so get this though, the gas cap thing.
K-Breeze.
I never thought about this, but wait a minute. Get ready. Because what about that? He didn't remember. He's got his key in his. Maybe he assumes he has his wallet, but he's got the car locked. He's got his key on him and his phone with him. What if the gas can, like the way it was opened, I cannot recall right this second if the gas cap was hanging, but the door kind of thing shut, you know how you can.
No, it was
whatever.
open.
But
I got a picture of it.
See,
right. Oh, no, I'm lying. You're right.
I know,
I'm
but
wrong.
I didn't know if that was when, I don't think it was after they opened it. So basically the gas cap is hanging, you know what I mean? But the door, I don't think that like the doors like shut all the way, but you know, it's hanging down. I think that's a sign to say it's not an abandoned car. Like, hey, car trouble, I'm coming back. Something like in North Carolina, we typically see it, you know, doing something out the window, a t-shirt or something. And he could have done that too, but I'm just putting this, I'm like we said, thinking about everything. The way that car's parked on the side, I don't know if he was technically on like, if that was county property, or I think further back
Private.
in the aerial shots, there might even be like a gate, like almost like a farm kind of gate, just a horse gate. It's further inland in the property, but like just in case. So in case he's like, hey, just FYI, don't tow me or something. I'm coming back to it. Like that's my sign right there. This isn't an abandoned car.
The little gas.
Instead of doing that, that's why he left. Yeah, that's why he left it hanging like that.
Now, my problem with this is where I came in with the 50-50. And I was like, I can get behind that, but I'm not sure. So she says this, and I'm like, that is a great thought. Perhaps that's the way of notifying the police. You know, don't tow my car. I'm out of gas. I'm 50% behind this. Now that I'm thinking through, it might be a 65. But then there's a small portion of me that's like, why wouldn't you hang something out the window? And also, this is not on the driver's side, like the road side, where you could see it immediately. And there was so much shit
that's in the car
that he could have hung.
Maybe there was an electric, but we don't know if there were any other issues at all with the car. We don't know if he pulled over because it's an electrical thing, like when my computer, or I mean, granted, this is an older car, say he couldn't get the windows all the way down and it was late and he wanted to get home. He had to get up early, you know, the next morning. So I understand, like, and like I told Tia, I don't care what side the gas thing is on, but I see that is a valid point. But at least I think at minimum, it could have been like, hold on, I don't, you know, before someone comes and tows this, they're going to have to assess the car, even if a tow truck comes to get it. And if they see the gas cap hanging out like that on the side, it could be an indication of like, hey, car trouble.
Which I think is such, hold on, let me get this other picture. Is this one a closer one? Yes, it is. So you can see, let me share this picture with you. It's a little bit closer. Sorry, it's just taking everything in me today to be able to share.
I mean, I know that they did.
So this is how it was left,
like, no.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you know what? That is a pretty valid point.
We don't know what the car issue is. Remember, we don't know what the car issue was. I'm not saying that this had some electric. I don't even know if there truly was a car issue. But the thing is, it was never noted. We know it clearly worked for him to go from when he called Stephanie at 5:30 to come help him real fast, you know, at the gas station and whatnot. They were able to start it up. He was able to use it. He got home, was able to go back and leave at 6 p.m. and it was still working then, but we don't know. Remember, the battery, who knows? Maybe there was a battery kind of issue, and so he couldn't roll it up. I don't know. I'm just thinking there was an issue with that car at 5:30. There was a mechanical issue with that car in general anyway. They just hadn't found the precise leak in the hose or where to replace whatever needed to be done to it. They hadn't pinpointed it. So we know there were issues. So
really quick, let me interrupt you before Nay. Let me interrupt you really quick before Nay skips off. Nay, Michelle K came in. She said she loves her music melts. and she's super excited. She's going to be placing more orders. And we told her to leave a comment or a review on musicmelts.com. So she really loved them. So yay, well done. I get the impression that when he left his car, he was not in any state of alarm. I wonder that too, Petunia.
Oh my God, I'm literally typing into the chat going Petunia, same. A part of me starting to think that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would like to know if they had to jump start the car. They didn't say that, but they did say they put gas in it. But the sister, here we go again, like another contradiction. The sister says that the battery caps were loose and she just tightened them and it was off you go. So, you're staying until the end. You're off tomorrow. I was just making, okay. Thanks, Nay. Well, I just wanted to make sure that you knew that Michelle was she was super duper happy. I know it did have to be super dark out there. And that's one of the things I kind of want to look at was like, were there street lights? I don't know.
Nope.
I don't know.
Nope. They're not.
There were no street lights, none of the big ones.
Mm-mm.
Wow. Okay. So it would make
headlights at that time.
Hey, Braze, definitely street lights. It's really dark between them. That's a good point too. So even if they had them, they were like far enough apart that, I don't know. So the point of the whole story and the point of my eyes opening and me having an epiphany is that there's a number of contradictions going on that we're going to be pointing out. But in the contradiction, like LFT always says to me, the devil's in the details. In this, we're going to be adding these to the timeline and hopefully make sense of some more things. But we're deep diving. Like, this is going to take a little longer than I thought it was going to take because we're deep diving. Mm-hmm. Like we start working and then we find out about Thomas More and his relation to Alec Murdoch. And you're like, what? So that's a whole, you lose like 20, 40 minutes going down that route.
Seriously, we both have to be good, like at some point tomorrow or then one day this week when we're just working and just hit live and let people just watch us work as we do it. Because I swear we get it all, like we talk through it. And then we're like, oh my God, we got to go live. And then we get like this and
tongue-tied. I know.
You miss the ins and outs. And I just say at this point, oh, screw it. Hit the live thing. I don't care if y'all are in hat or pajamas and
I got no problem doing that. I was wondering about the phone from the beginning because it was not in the right. Because why not use a flash? Excuse me. Even if you didn't use a flashlight, if it's that dark, you can just use the phone itself, and that will help you see. But also, according to Stephanie, they walked these roads all the time as children. They would sneak out and walk these roads, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, good night, Kylie. They, as little children, they would go and jump in lights.
Yeah, but and by that point too, the moonlight, like your eyes kind of adjust, and if you're following like the yellow line, like the line, you can you adjust and can see enough. Because I thought the same thing about him using his flashlight, like on the phone, just activating that. But then I'm like, then why the hell did he put his phone in his pocket?
Because I think he knew the area. I think he knew the road. I think he knew the area, like the back of his hand. That was his stomping grounds. And in my opinion, I think Sean and Patrick rolled up on him, beat the shit out of him, left him there for dead. You would walk down the middle of the road? I would too. I'd walk down the middle of the road. Now, what I don't understand is why you're still in the middle of the road, unless Patrick and Sean saw him run off the side of the road or dragged him then. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I
And you're gonna.
I'm not getting
It would take a
Murdoch.
lot of convincing. Mm-hmm. And you would have to convince me, like thoroughly, walk me through it like I'm a toddler. If someone is like, Steven just didn't see it or hear it. Like maybe he didn't see maybe they did turn the car light, like the headlights off. I don't know. We've all.
But but Mark said he heard the mud tires.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe a lot that Mark says. But I do believe you could probably hear mud tires on the phone. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
I think you could hear a car approaching. I don't care what size tires. Maybe unless you're on a freaking bicycle paddling down that road. I don't know if you would have necessarily heard that until the biker was like right up next to Steven's shoulder. But any set of tires coming down that road while it's quiet and just you've got nature kind of sounds, yeah, you're going to hear it. I agree 100%.
It's quiet out there. You're going to hear that miles out. You really are. But the point of the story is I was starting to go down like a certain road myself, pun intended. And the more I look at this case, the less I see the Murdochs. And the more I look at this case, I see mistakes in editing. And I see mistakes in the reports, which we're always going to find. It's not, but I mean, people are not perfect and there's going to be mistakes in there. But now that we know more, I'm going back to some of the things that when I was learning about the case, watching Low Country was one of the first things I did. And now that I go back to it, knowing slightly more, and I don't know a lot, I'm still new. I'm already seeing discrepancies in the story. I think that there's room for error here. Tell me what you're going to say.
Oh, of course. I said, if someone asked me right now, like, what do I feel confident in? Like everything that we've researched and learned about this case, I think the Murdoch isn't the thing I go to. I think the thing that sticks out that's consistent throughout people's statements, especially close friends and family, Steven's behavior had changed in the last 2 or 3 weeks. He was acting, he wasn't his typical, like the more secretive, not knowing where he's going. Bobcat landing, but not the escort, like everything, like all that is recent and it was just happening.
Right.
And that's like, I'm like, okay, that's consistent right there. I will say that I feel confident in that. Maybe I don't care what he had going on, but I think something was going on, whether it's a relationship, a way to make money. I don't know. The other thing I'm sure of is that no one knew what the F to do within the first 3.5 hours. But by 7:30 that morning, everyone was going, what the hell is this? Oh, those are the two consistent things that I will say. And that is shoes were on. Like we can't manipulate his pictures or anything like that. But ask me right now what I'm confident in and what I do think that we can take almost as truth, if you will, is that there was a change in his behavior, in his habits in the last handful of weeks. I will even be, let's say a month. Let's be generous and even give it more than 2 weeks because maybe they started to notice it for sure.
I have another question too. Keep going.
Yeah. So I would say that, and that the scene didn't add up and it led to confusion, and it was a ton of back and forth. That's it. That's the only thing that I would be like, that's what I can tell you for certain. Oh, and that his body was exhumed 8 years later.
I forgot to mention this too, which I thought was super duper weird. And I know we've talked about the RAP kit before, but Moore brings up the fact that it was a hit and run, but no prints or DNA Oh, hold on a second. Let me rewrite my note. Reread. Didn't know where he was going because it was a hit and run. No prints or DNA were ever taken, right? No prints or DNA on the car were ever taken on a hit and run. Number one. And number two, but they did an RAPE kit?
Yes. And I'm trying to see, I'm looking at the timeline
Question
right
mark?
now because
Question
I
mark?
see the GSR kit. The GSR kit was collected at right before the autopsy, I think, in terms of Presnell, you know, really diving in. That began at 12:30, but he was already prepped, getting ready for autopsy stuff. So it says at 11:29, they had collected one GSR kit during the autopsy. And then the RAP was, oh shoot, how come when I need it, I can't find it? Hold on. Right here. Chain of custody. Oh, by July 9th, PS, by 5:50 a.m. the next day, it says in quotes, this case has been turned over to Highway Patrol and is now closed for the Hampton County Sheriff's Office. They confirm.
So within 24 hours, they gave it to...
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I was looking because they talk about where that kit went, the other test kit. Sorry, I must be looking right over it. But they do have it to this day.
Well, I'm still going through the Low Country stuff, and I'm still going to be no DNA, no prints, no DNA. But we're going to do an RAPE kit on a guy found in the middle of the road that we're going to call a hit and run. Excuse me? Now the rumor mill says that we do this for all bodies found, but I'll be honest with you. I call bullshit. I'm sorry. I do. I call bullshit. And we're going to be going through, like I said, going through some of this stuff. I encourage you guys to go watch Low Country again. I always encourage you to look at the reports. They're in the Facebook group if you want to. We're going to try and put everything together so it's really easy to look at. But it's like I said, I just have a difference of opinion, and my eyes are starting to be open to things where I was like, okay, fine, Murdoch did it. And then I was like, maybe not. And now I'm really like, no, I don't think so. I really don't think so. And I think that it makes for a better story if that meme is involved. I know he did have all his clothes on, right? I don't know. I have lots of questions, and if you guys have answers, I'd love to hear them. You're robotic. If someone has their clothes on, the only way that I would think you would need to do this is yes. You're completely robotic and you're gone. Well, that's rude. That's like hanging up and not telling me. Not saying goodbye. So the only way you would think you would need to do one is right. That's kind of exactly where I'm thinking too. But anyway, let me say thank you for being here, you guys, and thank you for running through this. And perhaps tomorrow, like LFT said, we will just fire up the Zoom and forget you guys are there and just research in front of you. What I did do is don't tell anybody because I don't want to get arrested for this. Nightbot kicked her out for being naughty. I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, I screen recorded and put into Otter the portion of the Stephen Smith stuff. So I will put that out as well, but we have to give all the credit to, obviously, like this is us quoting them and da-da-da-da-da. But you can read the statements that we'll put those in the Facebook group as well. I think whatever happened, it happened fast. Oh God. I hope. LFT, I'm just gonna end it. So don't worry about it. Don't worry. Say goodbye. Say goodbye nicely. Please hit the thumbs up if you haven't. Also, please go to your favorite creator. If that's us, we love you. Thank you. Hit the thumbs up here. Go to some of our older videos, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, and, say something nice or give us some information or constructive criticism because we love that. Oh, thank you. Thank you for your support to me. Thank you very, very much. It's fine, LFT. Don't even worry about it. I know she's had such problems with her service today. It's been terrible. But please go to your favorite creator and like a bunch of their videos and leave a nice comment telling them that Decipher sent you and that you love their work. And yeah, pay it forward. Or give the nay finger in the comments, or you could do that too. Don't forget to go to Nadine's Music Melts if you're looking to stink up the house nice and use Decipher Rocks and get 20% off your order. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Petunia. I don't know what time we're thinking tomorrow. What's tomorrow? I don't even know what tomorrow is. Is it Tuesday? Here's your Decipher Rocks. No, I didn't get it yet, Nay. Sorry. It didn't come yet. Unless it's in my mailbox, which I can go down and check. But I did not. It didn't come to my door. So I'm thinking I didn't get it yet. Thank you, Mr. Worth. And what time do I think tomorrow? I don't know, but I will send out in Facebook and a community post to let you know. I just need to get with LFT and figure out her schedule. I mean, I could really start at any time, so it's no big deal for me. But thank you guys for being here. We really, really appreciate you. Okay, awesome. Thank you. And thank you to our mods for being here. I really, really appreciate you guys so much. You guys are just the best. Crazy Mama Hooligan, Nadie. Keep an eye on impromptu. Oh, okay. LFT says keep an eye out for an impromptu afternoonish one. So there you go. Probably late afternoon for look for the late afternoon Eastern Standard Time. So all right, you guys have a great night. Get some rest, put your feet up, have a wonderful Tuesday, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks for all your support and have a great day.